tonight our speaker is Sean Farley. And Sean, take it away.
So I'm going to start off just with some Mac specific stuff. I know some of it is, I know some of the commands to do it in Linux, but not all. So if you do know equivalents of what I'm about to talk about, please share them with me afterwards. Just kind of what I want to convey and hopefully have people get out of this talk is a bit of, like the title says, hodgepodge. I'm going to talk about things that in the last few months people have asked me when I come to the meetups about how I got my Emacs set up to look like a certain way or to do something. So we're not going to go too in depth, but just so hopefully show you a little bit of everything and kind of get you on a if you see something you like, go down that rabbit hole, because all of these are rabbit holes. This is Emacs. But that kind of is where we'll begin is my pre-Emacs config. These are just must-haves in general to save my poor pinky finger from overexerting. And so the must-haves, and on a Mac I'm using Carabiner to remap keys, is that my caps lock is actually, I should probably put what they map to. My caps lock is mapped to Control. The Shift key, which is right below the caps lock, is mapped to my Alt or my Alt key. And this is one that not a lot of people get mapped, but I map it to Hyper. That's a new / actually, if you're old enough, old modifier key that Emacs keyboards used to have. These are fun little image if you do a image search for Hyper keys. But it's another modifier. It's on the Mac, the function key is conveniently placed under Shift on the lower left. And so it just opens up a combinatorial, another amount of modifier keys to use. And so those are just things I've gotten so used to, their muscle memory. So escape key, you'll notice that I'm not really mentioning escape key. That's because Control G is mapped to escape. In fact, if I bring up Carabiner, you can see some of my mappings here, but also, let's see, complex modifications. Yes, they have some built-in, just like pre-made settings for Emacs, and then to make some bash stuff. I don't know. Oh yeah, these are some Visual Studio Code ones that are completely, they're just there for when I teach other courses, I use Visual Studio Code. And that's just because I didn't want to spend weeks explaining Emacs to new users. But Emacs is what we're here for. And so I'll start with what?
Ben is showing us his keyboard, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, do you have?
Wait, hold on.
Does it have a hyper key?
Looks like it.
We can't hear you, Ben.
Machine keyboard. This is an old Symbolics keyboard, yes, and it has the.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
that, you can see there.
Nice.
I just happened to have it in the box in the corner of the room here. Anyway.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Ben.
I do wish, well, I guess I kind of got I wish I had the keyboard, but then again, I just made it with Carabiner. So, yeah, like I quite like those keyboards. Being a former mathematician, I also appreciate that some of them had actual math symbols on them. But we'll do that at the end. So I probably started where a lot of people start, and that's just modifying init.l. To get like some settings that you don't know why, but you were just handed them by whomever told you about Emacs, right? It's like here's a init.l to start with. Let's see. It became very over the years it became crufty, just random stuff. Every once in a while I would try to organize the file and whatnot until I saw a guy who was, I think his name Bradley Wright, who had a literate version of his configuration in org mode. So you would write in org mode, and I'll bring it up here in a second. And so it started, so it simplified things. So one problem that I had with the init.l is that I would have these random blobs of lists that I had no idea why I put it there. Okay, so add some comments, right? That's what we tell our new students. And we all do that with our own code, right? Yeah, we document it. But the literate word, which was to use org mode and tangling that, if you don't know about those, there's maybe another talk a lot of people are into, is org mode. It's great. But you can write code blocks, and the code will just be, it would look at all these, what are called Babel, or is it just org Babel mode? But it would look at these code blocks, it would concatenate them together, and then it will just compile it in whatever language you specified. Here is my current readme.org. And it's pretty nice. Right? You know, like it has a lot of text. It has a lot of like, this is why I did something. The first part is just copied from Bradley Wright. Some conventions, some setups. I'm not going to go really into it, but just, you know, here's an example of a block. I set up some temporary files. Anyway, and so on and so forth. But it grew to over 10,000 lines of code. At its heyday, at its maximum, that was, even if not everything is a code line, it's still a lot to have in one file. As in, like, Emacs search gets visibly slower. And that got fixed, so that's not even, that's a moot point at this point. But well, that should say this problem, this was a problem for many reasons. There we go. It quickly became unmanageable. It's like, again, it was similar to my init.l problem where I would have random blobs. But this was better organized, and supposedly I was writing more comments, writing reasoning of why I added something. And I did that for the most part. It became, let's see, I guess, there was an unconscious hurdle to that, which was now whenever I saw something cool and new that I wanted to import, I would actually like kind of put it off until I tested it and kind of had a, whatchamacallit, like would write a paragraph or two about why I was doing this. So it was a bit of a hurdle there, right? Like it made it not really fun to do this kind of stuff. More importantly than that, I think this really goes unmentioned a lot, is that the code that we inherit from our supervisors or our advisor and people who showed us Emacs is that these settings bit rot very, very quickly, especially not, I guess in the last 5 to 8 years, Emacs really development has picked up a lot. So I had, I don't know if any Mac, okay, so looking around, no Mac users, but, or no, not Mac, sorry, just modern computers. We all have that. Perhaps in your init file, you have a GC cons threshold variable. Does that ring a bell? You're shaking your head,
I've
yes?
seen that somewhere.
Maybe, yeah, it's the garbage collection threshold for,
Use it to make Emacs start up faster.
not just faster, but more responsive,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Like, you know, all these editors, VI included, right? You know, are older than a lot of things we used to. Like Lisp is from the 50s. It is the second oldest computer language still in use after, unfortunately, Fortran. But so you know, the time was different back then. I think at one of the coffee meetups in Oakland that we had a few months ago, someone remembered the days of teleprompts, right? Of like the serial connections, and Emacs was optimized to do this like only redraw part of the screen. You know, like so, some of these settings that have lived on need to be adjusted, and it's not clear of why unless you really read up on each of these variables. For the GC cons threshold, we have more memory now. My laptop is easily 16 gigs. 8, I think, is the easy lower bound these days. I'm playing fast and loose with memory size, but 8 gigabytes, right? They didn't have that in the 80s and 90s, and so we kind of have this code that we just copy paste everywhere, and and yeah, like you copy those bugs, you copy the inefficient algorithms if those exist, and they end up in your repo and really bit rot. And so that was something that frustrated me. Like the GC cons thing, I wasn't even sure why I applied it. Like sometimes I would have a note, sometimes it would just be, I have no idea what these 5 variables do, but in conjunction together, they seem to fix some problem I was having. That, at some point last year or the year before, I had enough of that. And so I found this configuration called Doom. And by the way, there are many alternatives. Doom is just one. There's Spacemacs, there's Prelude. Centaur, I think, is like Doom, but maybe forked. Doom was inspired by Spacemacs. It's a copy. The guy, Henry, I think his name is, it seems that he just wanted a lightweight version of Spacemacs, so made it that way. And so what all of these things are they are some base layer of configuration so that all of these thousands of knobs that Emacs has, and by knobs I mean the variables and perhaps some monkey patching you might have to do for whatever OS you're using it on, or perhaps whatever version of Emacs that you're using, depending on what your OS package manager has. Those are managed and confined to a systematic like kind of base layer, and that's I guess if you get nothing else out of this, that's what I'm trying to evangelize. Having trouble. Evangelize. Oof, tripped over that. It is that we should really combine. The benefits of this are two-handed. One is that it takes code out of your repo. I love the diffs and pull requests that are mostly red, right? Like those are great pull requests. Remove dead code. But they take them out of your repo and your configuration and put them into some kind of shared configuration. Ideally, these would be in Emacs itself, but alas, here we are. So I think the next best thing is something like this. Something like this says, choose one that fits with you, and it takes the burden off of your shoulders, right? I really, as fun as it was diving into Emacs code, the worst, by the way, that I've ever dove in was the Emacs graphics code. That's all I'll say about that. Oof, yeah. Like as fun as that is, I didn't want to spend weeks modifying my configs just to get it kind of up and running. And so Doom is what I went with, and I can show off that in a minute. Spacemacs is very similar. They all have these idea of layers, like I want to turn this layer on or off, such as like I want to enable LSP, which was talked about last year, and then I loved it so much that I implemented some stuff in it. Is that like get to the fun part of this, and so let's do some demos. And so first is I guess I'll go. Let's see, will this work? Okay, is that readable by everyone? Yay, yeah, sort of. Oh, are you there? Nope. So I'm already in my .files repo, and there is just a few files here for this. So let's see if it opens up in the right. And so, yeah, I guess this is my messiest file in my Doom config so far. In fact, that is a dead function. I was going to get rid of it. You can just comment it out. But it's just a few settings, a few things I'm currently playing with, like not really, how to say, sweeping the, for this talk, I wanted to show you exactly where I'm at. These are about copying host files around, and I'll show you that actually in a minute. Some random things that I don't want a prompt, just I want this mode activated when I boot up. I have a persistent scratch, which wasn't included in Doom, but hey, it's really easy. And as we go through, I have this. I'll go over this part in a bit. This is another one. I'm gonna all these things I'm highlighting. After I'm done playing with them, I'm going to immediately put them into their own file, so it's clear and really sectioned off. But other than these random files, random settings, I have not so much in here. Right, we're at less than 150 lines of code in the side there, and so it's just kind of already I've taken a lot out of my my stuff, my repo, my .files repo. Before this talk, I actually spent a few weeks at the beginning of the year contributing as much as I could upstream, so that if you just use Doom or Doom mode line, you'll immediately have all the stuff that I spent years like monkey patching to get the mode line and whatnot. So that's another benefit to this, is that it made it abstract enough where I could submit most of this stuff upstream, and the few tweaks that didn't make it like there's too specific for my laptop. It's fine. They have their own variables to configure, and so let's go back to the slides, and we'll start with Ivy. Ivy's there's another popular one called Helm. I'm not quite sure about the status of Helm. Every once in a while I check on it, and it seems that it may or may not have a maintainer. Don't quote me on that though. But I use Ivy in something called Ivy pause frame, which is hard to remember for me, but it's what makes my it opens up a frame and it makes it kind of like a modern, like little spotlight type thing, or however you want to say it.
Does this work in the terminal too?
Yeah, all of these will work.
The pause frame would?
Yeah, frames work in terminal, right? Or buffers rather. Sorry, Windows. Jesus, how many? So I think there's a window mode for this in the frame when you're in terminal. Almost sure it doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
Like with the buffer or with the border around it. But if it doesn't, I'll check at the end and we'll see. But I don't use the terminal, almost never, and I'll show you why. That's one of the points on here. But okay, so this is my mode line, or not mode line, sorry, my just Emacs. I can open up whatever. Basically, this is one of those little things that goes a long way. And so this is part of Doom. We've made it a configuration upon booting, just to have all of the pop-ups appear right here. Let's open up a Python file. I think I have one. Nope. Go to Mercurial. We'll open up Mercurial Pi. That's a horrible search. Context Pi. And so this will enable, once it boots up, all right, this is reminding me. Great, but I don't know if this is going to zoom. It's not. No. But this is a tiny frame that pops up with completion and stuff.
That's the Ivy pause frame.
Pause frame is actually in general. More than Ivy. There is an Ivy pause frame that's a subset of it.
Is that what that is?
Oh, so this
Yeah.
is pause frame?
Yeah, this is just pause frame.
So it looks a lot like the regular company completion, but with different
Yeah.
colors and stuff.
All of them share
They
a lot of
use
code.
pause frame.
No, I'm not sure they use the pause frame because I haven't looked into it. But this is a popular, a lot of copy paste.
Yeah.
Is this, who's doing the completion here?
This is LSP.
LSP?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I can't zoom in apparently on this one, but if you see in the bottom right, there's a rocket ship. That rocket ship is, we'll show you the LSP. It's very tiny at the bottom. But it shows what process number it is. It's running the Microsoft Python LSP module, and I'll show off the mode line more in a bit. But again, like I was like a part of the nice part of or part of the reason why switching to a configuration manager was so wonderful was just things like this. You just turn on pause frame and it will work everywhere. Really, for me, it's about getting rid of as much code. Like my goal at the beginning of this year was actually to like try to make my file, my Emacs configuration almost nil. Like how small can I get it, and it still work the way I want it to. So we'll go back to slides. So another question I get a lot is my email. So I say that Emacs is my OS. It is quite true. So there's a keyboard shortcut for it. Kill this. So I use mu, very hard to search for. So mu4e, mu4e. Well, okay, it auto-completed. That's great. But this is alerts so that you can get terminal things, which I also have installed. I think I got this one upstream to Doom as well. Just looking for a link. So mu is a indexer. It's an alternative to Not Much. I used Not Much for a while. Not Much didn't work for me. So a lot of this will be about my workflow and what did and did not work. I used Not Much for a little over a year. The reason it didn't work was because they're really opinionated about local inbox and tagging, and that stuff is just local to your laptop. There are ways and hacks that I use to get the tags to sync, but reading on your phone and archiving a message or moving around wouldn't be reflected on a laptop. That was kind of a deal breaker for me. I came to hosting my own email from Gmail, so I was very used to tags or labels, I guess, in Gmail. But at the end of the day, I got rid of labels. It turned out I didn't really want them. They were too much overhead, too many things to remember, what labels have what. What I really wanted was, as I type, search, because that's what I use the most. And then the labels were used for things that just were too hard to search for, too many common words that I wanted to find later. And so I just completely went to IMAP and just use folders for the ones that are hard to find, like things from my advisor for my research were just too many common search terms to find them. PhD, and my advisor's name is only 3 letters, so it's just a lot of false hits or false matches. And so I put them in a folder, and that simplified my life so much. And for that, I used mu. Mu just is IMAP. There's no special stuff with labels, just regular old IMAP. And so it syncs with my phone and any other third-party app if I ever want to check email on the go. But what is it? Or let's use it. So I have about, let's update it. So I'm going to download some messages. Hopefully nothing too embarrassing will come up. Please don't send me an email right now with something. That would be so yeah, you can see it. It's churning through some stuff. For Not Much, what's the alternative to? I'm using MBSync, Mailbot Sync, but what was the Python one? Does anyone remember? Like IMAP something? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
But I used that one. In fact, I wrote I managed that package for a while in MacPorts, but it was too slow. A no-op for me would be like 4 minutes, I think. It was just something that it was uncanny.
Offline IMAP.
That's it. Offline IMAP. Thank you. And MB Sync, if it's a no-op, it's a second, right? Like I wanted something very fast turnaround. But there are, so I didn't see if it showed it, but in the top right, it'll do a notification of new messages. I'll also talk about the downside. Some of the downside to both, this is both not much and mu, is that in my .files repo, you can find a small little script that will sit and idly monitor your IMAP so that you can get push notification. Getting it to do notifications is fairly straightforward, that's fine. Getting it to automatically sync your inbox is challenging for one reason, and that's if you're currently in the middle of going through your email, such as, let's just jump to the inbox, hopefully nothing too bad. Yeah, here's some Petsy stuff. If I select down to this and I start reading, it will now update this, and then the way it happens is I'll lose my buffers. And it's kind of been talked about before. The advice right now is just don't do it. Just whenever you're done reading, like now, okay, I'll sync again. That's all. So that's a downside. If you really want push stuff, you'll have to think a little bit outside the box there to get that to work. But oh, right. So I have I broken? I just broke 200,000. 500 emails ago. So I have 200,000 emails locally, and let's search. Let's see, Emacs, and I'll do everything before 2012. Oops, that's not the right. So dot. So this is going up to 2012. I do have ideas. This is all about and some other stuff I had, but that was really quick. Like searching is lightning fast. It's faster, actually, than when I was using Google. Faster than when I was using Google even. Let's do Petsy stuff for 2008. I'll have some stuff there. Yep. I mean, very. I don't like. For me, that sold it. Seeing this, seeing someone do this. You can select a thread. This must make no sense. Port bout to jazz. Bout was an old physics code I worked on, boundary turbulence, and jazz was a cluster. So like it was a bit more. But yeah. Like churning through email like that was very, very powerful. Jumping to inbox. Don't want to show off too much. Yeah, by the way, it's just a keyboard shortcut to select just this thread. So that's what I did. I narrowed it down to this thread. This is my advisor, and so it's your. Oh, I'm back for the holidays. Just doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to do. This is very, very nice. I recommend it quite a bit. And if you use, I'll show some of the mode line off in the bottom right. This is now upstream for Doom mode line. It will show you unread emails. In the bottom right with a little icon. I guess I'll talk about the mode line since I'm here. It also has GitHub integration. So if I click on that, it'll open up my notifications for GitHub. I left that at a high number just so I could show it off.
Yeah, you got to get the Forge integration now.
That is Forge integration. Yeah.
But you have to why do you have to bring up the web thing?
It's just for that mode line is just GitHub. But everything's using Forge now. Everything that I know of in Doom.
All right.
Because
What's Forge? I thought that was somehow you wouldn't have to ever use the web interface anymore or something.
Oh yeah, we can do that too. That's fine. Well, I need to be in a Git repo, so I will go to. Let's do Doom, and I'll do. Make file. So we can do Forge. So Forge is by the same guy who did Magic, and it has all kinds of fancy integrations, like pull notifications. And so it does use that in the back end.
Like GitHub integrations?
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, so why would you use Forge instead of just Magic?
No, it's now kind of, so Magic is using it.
Oh, Magic uses Forge.
I believe it's still optional, so you have to manually say no, install Forge. But once it is there, you get this Magic. Oh, I have modified something cool. Oh yeah, just a test. But if I do question mark, I get not an apostrophe. Yeah, a single apostrophe. It's Forge menu. And so I can create a pull request, list my issues, list my notifications. So yeah, so you can do it in Emacs. I don't know if there's no. It might be notifications for just this repo. I don't know. Or maybe I haven't pulled in a while. You do have to manually pull for right now. So Forge pull. And this will pull all the pull requests, so you'll get refs to that. You'll keep them in a database, and it will, yeah, so there's some of the pull requests. I think I've limited. So I can actually check them out locally. These are all now here locally. So Forge is another great integration with Magic. I mean, it's the same guy. And he called it Forge because there will be GitLab integration, and I actually used to work with Bitbucket, so he has a nice little blurb of how shitty Bitbucket is, which makes me laugh, because he's right. But yeah. So really great integrations there. By the way, the reason I chose Doom, so both Doom and Spacemacs by default are evil mode, which I had long since broken my habit via muscle memory. And so I actually wanted, default key bindings. And so Doom was the only one that I could easily figure out how to turn it off, which is one or two lines, which was just one or two config variables. Let's see. I also have chat. Now this might blow up my talks. The live demos are always where, well, we'll see. So here's chat. I haven't logged in a while just so I could show off the mode line. And so some of these will be private chats, which is always going to be fun.
This is being recorded, you know that, right?
Yep. Apologies in advance. So it's right now it's connecting to my ZNC server, which is IRC as well. So those are the ones I'll show off. And yes, so it's already filling up in the bottom. Right here, all of this is now officially upstream. I should tweet more about this. This is one of my proudest hacks that I did for using. This is now Circe mode, CIRCE. Previously I used, I think, just vanilla ERC. Circe mode allowed me to do all the hacks that I had and monkey patches I had for ERC, but it had it fixed in by default, so I switched to that. Sorry, I was really, really happy for that. But so lots of chats here. The cool thing though is you can see what it does is just takes the first few letters of the chat. So I know this one right here, the one that says pi, is actually Pierre Yves, things like that. A, I think is my friend Alexander. And this icon is the Bitbucket icon, so that's the Bitbucket channel. And so this is it. I also chat in Emacs. So let's go to Bitbucket, if we can.
We should be on Emacs. I always tell them about our meetups, and they're always like,
Oh, man, I joined Emacs, but I always
yeah,
like it's gonna say it's really chatty, so so one downside is that has the Bittleby. So I use Bittleby. So everything is through IRC. Bittleby is an IRC everything bridge. I use it for Jabber. Let's do Bitbucket. And yeah, like Emacs is. I would do Emacs, but my friend Jordy tried to get Emacs, the Emacs channel to talk more. I wanted more Lisp discussions and less random things.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so this is the Bitbucket channel. It's already taking it off from down here. It's no longer in the mode line because it's marked it as red. So let's go to Bittleby. Or Freenode, that's fine too. But we'll go to another channel. Ugh, God, I think I stayed off for too long. That's like 2 weeks worth or a week and a half's worth of buffers just filling up. So we'll go back to the Bitbucket. I think one of the most frustrating parts of Emacs is this right here. What I'm showing is it's not really multi-threadedness, right?
Yeah.
I use the Mac port by, I believe, Mita Haru, one of the Japanese guys who does like Mac-specific patches. And he's tried to do a lot with getting the UI thread unblocked when he's doing Lisp stuff. Emacs 26 has a lot of improvements for that. Anyway, so
Good to know.
yeah, that's a little rant, but that's just
This
it.
isn't Emacs 26?
This is, yeah. So this right here, this line, when we came back to the buffer, that line is the last marked red location. And so lots of things have it now, but I really appreciate the small things and when I'm reading IRC. Names are colored, etc. This is just a small thing. But let's go to another frame. Let's say my email frame. And, or not. Frames do I have open? There we go. Right. Just took away the mode lines, didn't it? But yeah, we'll turn it off for right now. And this mode line is compact. So when you're not in the chat, it just shows a little chat bubble. But if you hover over it, it'll show you all the buffers that are unread. So I'm quite proud of that, by the way. I wrote that and
Is
that's
it clickable?
yeah, it'll bring it up. But the reason I don't do it is because it messes with projectile, and I haven't figured out how to get it to do that. But we'll go back here to the slides. Well, we just need that. Here, we're just doing demos now anyway. We don't need the slides. And so what else? So the most I guess showing off part is that by using Doom, you can just turn on a few settings and get the nice icons, the nice theme, the nice mode line that took me, just over the years, the craft grew. I don't know if you've ever tried to muck around with the mode line, but if you're not careful, you will really slow down Emacs. Because it updates every time you press a key, everything. So like if you put something there that shells out, like I did, to say read a file on disk, just to test if it's there, thinking, oh, it's innocuous. I'm just testing if a file is there, and if it exists, then display something. Oh man, that did not go over well. My Emacs ground to a halt. Similar to what it's doing now, to be honest. So,
Wait, what's happening right now?
this is very sluggish. And I suspect because of all those chats I saved up. And now if I close it, so there's another downside. Now if I kill Emacs, I lost all those chats. Not permanently, as I can search through history, but I lost my read markers. Because right now they're open in the buffer, so the buffer's lost. Oh well. So ZNC right now thinks that once I downloaded them, that's it. Like I've read them. Alas. So one of those downsides. There is some cool integration though with ZNC and mobile phones. What do I use? I use something called Mutter, I believe. Yes, Mutter. And it will, there's some modules to enable on ZNC that it will mark it differently read for your phone. So you can still use IRC and whatnot on your phone, which is perhaps bad, I don't know. Maybe you want some separation there.
Is it okay for me to ask dumb questions?
Oh,
No, I'm
absolutely.
going to ask dumb questions.
Yeah, okay. Well, permission granted.
Like I'm sort of a Luddite or something, so a Neanderthal here. But so you have, like, I'm really need to ramp up on these kinds of skills. But so you have some kind of server somewhere that's like an intermediary which keeps all your sessions active, so you know when you've
right.
seen and not seen something.
Correct.
And is that ZNC?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. Sorry, yeah.
No, no
yeah,
problem.
I've used it for a while now, I forget.
You forget that there are
Yeah,
people out
right.
there who've never heard of these
Never,
things.
right. Yeah, so ZNC is on my mail server. So I host my mail.
Uh-huh.
And so those two services that I run are on a VPS somewhere that is, hopefully more than the computer in my apartment, going to be up more than that.
Okay.
Also, it's hard to host your own email from your apartment because your ISP has to do reverse DNS lookup.
Okay.
So that when it looks up by that IP address, you only get that Emacs record. It's for safety as well.
Okay.
And so it's easier on a VPS. Like you can
Okay.
do that, all this stuff. And so yeah, like if I ever have a power outage, I don't have to worry about any of that kind of mess. But yep, ZNC and Mail are supposed to be up all the time on that machine. And indeed, it connects to IRC. It's an IRC bouncer.
Yeah.
You remember those?
Seems like a game changer. I mean, I always I ask somebody a question on IRC and then I'm on the train.
Yeah.
Like an hour later, I'm like, did anyone answer my question?
Get yourself a bouncer, Jeff. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. So I highly recommend ZNC. It's not Dockerized, so it's super easy. You can set it up. And that's what I use for what you just saw, like maintaining the chats. Like me though, if you go a few weeks without checking, you'll, what's it called? A thundering herd problem. Like just all this data for you. Oh well, but let's try to kill this. So Emacs client and Tramp, game changers for me for the command line. So I said I don't use things from the command line. I don't use Emacs from the command line. It's mostly true. So let's see. I'm a bit. Let's see how this works. I have not fired up Emacs from the command line in quite some time. Okay.
So
Mostly okay. Those are my fonts. That's my color theme. And if I do this, yeah, it doesn't work as well. You're right. The frame stuff. So I stand corrected with the pos frame. I think it's harder. Yeah. Or I think it doesn't work here.
It's not bad though. This is in the terminal, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so it's-
you've got colors. Let's.
Indeed, most like it. For when I do need it, if I ever did in the terminal, yeah, I'm not going to be.
Just pick like the nearest approximate color. Is that how
That's
that
right.
works?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is correct. So it doesn't show It doesn't show icons because it doesn't have that kind of capability, but it does show #16 for my GitHub notifications. I don't know if I can press there. Not easily. But anyway, you can run it from the terminal, but I never do. Why is that? Because I use Emacs client. So please get yourself Emacs client, Emacs 26, because it fixed a lot with the client. And so you can actually, so there's no wait, we can evaluate a command. We can say message foo. If I got that syntax correct. Now we just sit here waiting patiently. So my Emacs really is.
Is it spinning up a server?
No, I think I might have to kill this anyway. Alas, live demo gods did not favor me.
Wasn't it in 25 that like some basic threading thing was introduced?
26.
26.
Oh, it was just in 26 because I just upgraded.
It's not true threading.
But
either.
it's
cooperative.
like it's something that at least that allows you to submit, say, network requests and not like sit there, patiently waiting for it to come back or something. It's like continuation or something.
Yeah, I will restart.
You get a lot done with things like coroutines and
Yeah, you can.
continuations and
This is
stuff.
a.
As long as you're not like synchronously waiting, that's a big improvement.
Oh my. Sometimes I wonder. Yeah, like I really wish we had a better UI thread for that kind of stuff. I have to force quit it here.
So when did 26 come out? Is that pretty recent?
26.2 just came out actually, right?
Yeah, so but 2 years ago, I would say.
Oh,
26.
That's right, yeah.
I mean,
Wait, 26.0 is different than 26.1. Yeah, so 2 years ago.
there we go. Okay. Let's see. So we'll do that. Let it fire up. Yes. This whole problem. So, I believe what the problem is, and this took me a while to figure out. I think it's Emacs local cache. Nope. Server. That is never a fun one. So this took me forever to diagnose and debug. But if this file exists, if you force quit Emacs, right, it doesn't clean up, and you try to start the server, the Emacs server, it will just straight up just not finish and crash. So remove the file. Close my messages here. Yeah. So I'll always check that one. Okay. All right. Hopefully I have something set up, much more responsive. Still embarrassing, but oh well. But there we go. We can run things through the Emacs client. And so how does this work? There are two variables. So I used to have this script that would try to find if the file existed, the server file existed, and if so, then it would send the commands to this the Emacs daemon. If it didn't exist, it would fire up Emacs. That was way complicated. It was way complicated because sending quotes through scripts is actually way more difficult than it needs to be. But it's easy now. So hence you just need this at the very least, this environment variable. And so this is the server file, which guess what? And it's how it finds the server and can send messages to or commands. You can even do this, which is the Quake stuff you saw. See if it gets captured. Yes, and so Quake is this interesting little Emacs package that throws up a frame wherever you're at. Kind of, you can make it, I don't know if you can easily see it, but make it translucent. And it can, let's see, luckily these keys are old, so I don't care about them. Oh, right, and you can tell it, get it to start with some kind of yeah, Emacs lists. Like you can create a frame, you can have it instantialize or open up, like say, an org file. And right now, that's my Doom config, and here's my Scratch. There's some org mode clock in stuff that I'm messing around with. Whatever, I can make a note, and then I can ideally I would set this to a global shortcut key. But I will Quake toggle, and then toggle it away. And so you can just create a key map, just have it fire up, do something. I'll talk at the end what I want to do in the future with that. But for this one, let's say I want to open up, where am I, config? And so it brings it to my running, the GUI instance of Emacs. But you might say, well, I SSH a lot. And I do too. And I do have a solution for you. So let's go to my home computer, aptly named Euclid. I don't know why that's aptly. It's just, I love the name Euclid. We had a contest in boarding school. Like, all the computer names were 6-letter long scientist or math names, just so the logs would line up.
My computer has the same name.
Oh no, we have to fight and duel for this now. You might have seen something though. This line right here at the top, that looks suspiciously like a SCP output. And you're correct, it is. And I'll do that in a minute. But, let's see, where are the Emacs? So I have two environment variables now. I have the Emacs server file. Cool, there it is. And I have this Emacs client tramp variable. And tramp is Emacs, it's not a mode, it's an Emacs package that is transparent. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but transparent SSH copying. And so the name of my host is Euclid. This tells Emacs that this is to use SSH to copy files over. But let's see what I got there. So let's edit Emacs client. Let's edit this C file that I have. This is on my home server, but fire up here. Oh, that did not work. Yep, so that did not work. That was actually on purpose. Sort of on purpose. That's because I'm running 17.10. I haven't upgraded Ubuntu yet. So that's Emacs 25. So Emacs 25 does not respect that variable. Emacs 26, though, which I installed, and it's not the default Emacs client, will do it. And forget about the set socket stuff. But there it is. This is, if you see at the bottom here, my file name, but at Euclid. So if I change something, this is a small little C program. That's not C. That's a C++ comment. I'll add a comment there. You can see at the bottom it's saving across transparently, right? I didn't have to really muck around with anything. I didn't write. Yeah, I had to kill it. And so it was waiting there for me to stop. It did. So let's cat that file, and there's my comment that I added. And so for me, my editor, the editor environment variable is probably not in this machine yet, because I think it's my old script. Oh no, it is. Okay, so I just set it to Emacs client, so that whenever it asks me, like, it will automatically fire up an Emacs locally with all my nice Chrome, my GUI Chrome around it, icons and all of that, even if I'm on a remote machine. And so that is something that I quite a bit like. And so for me, the terminal stuff is just not really an issue, because I never use the terminal.
Wait, so who sets up the variables?
Oh, sure. Let's get that. Where are they right now? So I think it's in exports. Sweet Emacs right there. And so, yeah, so this is how it gets set.
Oh, so you share these doc files on your home?
Of course,
machine
of
too.
course.
So
They're a
that's the
repo for a
I
reason.
said again.
Yeah. They're not, that part's not magic. So there's two locations, two possible locations for the server file. The second one right here is if I'm using Doom. And so this is just to help migrate across all my systems that have not, maybe, that I haven't updated for Doom. And then the other one is just very simplistic. If I'm not on my Mac, my home machine, then export this variable, the tramp variable, where it's SSH, and then I just put in the host name. And that is it. And the only caveat is this host name needs to be understood by your local machine, so it can SSH back to it. And I sometimes, and I think I've set long ago the SSH control files, so that it leaves it open if one SSH, so it's very fast. Whereas,
Wait,
at least
what
it doesn't.
kernel files?
SSH, big. This. Nope, I got rid of them. So never mind. And I just make sure to always, on the trusted machines I have,
I see.
to always open the same port and reverse. So that's part of the secret, is that I tell Emacs to listen on 9999, and when I SSH to these trusted machines, I reverse port forward that. And there's another one too. I mentioned it suspiciously looked like a SAP, right? And so that is,
Oh, you're copying over the server.
yeah, but I didn't say SCP, right? I just said SSH.
Right.
We'll do it again. There it goes. So how does it do it when I SSH? Is
Alias.
it an alias? Is it an alias? Let's see.
Maybe.
Nope, it is not an alias. But what shell am I using?
Oh, this is conch.
It is. You're absolutely right. This is a Python shell, which I love.
Ah.
Is that why you have that sweet prompt?
You can do that in Bash. I wrote this in C back in the day because I was tired of slowness from Python. I worked on Mercurial, guys. I know about slowness in Python. All too well.
And yet you use conch.
It doesn't have to fire it up every time though. That was kind of why I switched, was that it's already Python running. So you can just import instead of shell out if you're working with Python stuff. So here I import the shell lexicon stuff. Import NumPy. That's all.
Okay.
There we go. All right. That's my shell. Oh, so what do? I'll color it with Python, even though, Conch made a superset of the Python language. It is Python 3.6, 3.5, one of those, plus some bashisms, piping, redirection, all of that stuff. So it's Python-ish as a shell language. It's not perfect at all. It's been through some rough spots. I tried to use it a few years ago and it's unusable. Now it's fairly usable, so I do that. Aliases is just a dictionary. That's it.
Wait, what was unusable? Oh, conch.
Yeah, gosh, it had troubles with if you put an ampersand, it hadn't figured out yet how to do send to the background. There's still some corner cases where if it's an ambiguous, is this a Python statement or a shell, right? If they could look the same, like ls-l, right? That's valid Python. It could be ls minus, the variable ls minus l. So there's some quirks, but it does it. It just, if you're not aware of, it has to have a fallback mode, then right? It sometimes bites you in the ass. But it has something called, so this is how I get my fancy, whatchamacallit, my icons. But this is just Bash. But you can, sorry, this
Those
is
are
Python.
strings?
You can easily do this in Bash.
Are those Unicode characters?
Right. What are they?
Can't be.
They are Unicode characters.
What?
Well, you
This
just
is one for Fedora.
They're from Nerd Fonts. So if you've heard of Font Awesome and what are the some other ones? So the only one I remember is material icons from Google, some random weather icons, Octica icons from GitHub, material design. Where's all that font awesome? Powerline symbols. All of this gets amalgamated together into one font.
Okay, can you choose like a font for letters and then a font for these Unicode things that you want?
You could, but why? The whole point of amalgamating them together is that they're the font you want,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
plus the stuff.
Okay, so that's what you mean by amalgam. Okay, yeah.
So for
What's the plus in front of the file names in your ls?
it's part of the file name, right?
Oh, plus.
Yeah, literally put a plus. So I like using Fira code, Fira, but so this is Fira code, but with nerd font. So the reason I use Fira code, by the way, both in Emacs and shell lines. So if I do this, like I'm about to type a greater than sign, but it makes it a ligature. So it does all this. So I turn to, I think Alacrity does it, and Emacs version for the Mac will do ligatures. So here.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not it.
What if you got some below that arrow thing? Maybe not.
That should be, let's see, it does not even, yeah, it's not doing it on my Emacs. That's strange. I'll have to look into that. Because that was working this morning. Yeah, that should be changing to this, does not equal. So I'm not sure why that's not working. Okay, another time. But it's just as a matter of setting that font. That's all.
Wow.
And so for this, it has events. And so you can define an event called a pre-command. So on every time I run a command, my function gets called, and I just say, well, if it's SSH, find the host name by get the first one without a dash. If it exists, SCP it over. And so this part is the non-Python part. This is confident. Like I just made an SCP command to shell out. But the rest of this was straight up. All
So
up
you
to
don't
here
have to
was-
specifically ask it to shell out, it just
Right.
shells out.
Yeah, there are ways to force it to do both. Like you can force Python mode, or you can force shell mode. It's by using the $sign one that's like shelling out, and the @ sign, which you see right here. So yeah, that's a good example actually. So right here, host name. If I said SCP host name, like that's a valid string. It could think just the machine named host name.
Right.
And so I had to specifically say, no, like host name is a Python variable, and so that's the @ sign. But yeah, it's something I switched to recently. It has a nice little interaction like this. So every time I SSH to one of those machines, boom, it'll copy over that file.
Sorry, so I'm not sure I caught your ligature thing. So you're saying that if you do a dash and then greater than, it'll turn into an arrow?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, and if you do bang equals,
If
it's
I
not
do
equals.
2, if I do bang equals,
Oh,
if I
that,
do equal, it does that, and another equal does that.
and so this is all part of the nerd fonts?
So nerd font is kind of just an amalgamator. The font is called Fira code. Fira code.
Okay, here it goes. And so that does the things you're calling the ligatures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the font, so be careful. The font does have this in it because ligatures are quite old. So it has the ability to say, when these two are next to each other, it's actually this other glyph. But something your program has to interpret it. That's why I said iTurn2 supports it and Emacs on the Mac supports it. Emacs on GNU Linux, I couldn't get it to work really well. There's a whole thread about it on Reddit. Anyway, that's the one thing actually that if someone watching this knows how to do, I would love to see it. I already, like, there's this kind of like a blog post of it. Was it or Emacs, I think? Emacs, Linux, ligatures. There's this. Let's see. Maybe one of these is how I found it on Reddit. But basically, it pseudo works. Yeah, Emacs Mac will do it because I think this is modern Emacs, not core Emacs.
Wait,
Yeah.
wouldn't pretty symbols work?
But so the program that displays the font has to be able to say, like use another glyph when these two are next to each other, not the font itself.
Oh, so that's the one I'm talking, the pretty symbols?
So yeah, that will do it for Emacs.
Yeah.
It's just that's specifically only for those symbols.
I see,
This is the one I want though, like
I see.
as in like it's in the font file. But yes, yeah. You can do this with pretty symbols. So this guy, yeah. So this is 2017, exactly 2 years ago, and it was kind of like going through how you would do this in here, in Emacs. I would love to see this on in GNU Emacs or proper upstream Emacs. But yeah, so for the Mac, that's nice. At least I really like it. And how am I doing? Okay.
Good.
Yeah. And one more is so I also just kind of, I'll do one more thing, two more things actually. I promised Max I would do it, since I dedicated this talk to him.
Right, Max. Where is Max? He should be here.
No, he moved back to, that's why I dedicated it. Yeah. He moved back last week. It was kind of a spur of the moment.
Oh,
So he's back in Germany for good.
That's
Yeah, but he was interested. Let's open up a project. So this is that project I told you about, paper, that ballot project for physicists. This is LaTeX. This is the paper we wrote. Whatever. This is some Tixie to do some crazy plotting. So I do all the plots in LaTeX. But let's look at the output. So this is recent. This is only a few weeks ago. Of course. Yeah, so you will see this. It will be building the PDF stuff in this buffer. So this is something I would like to see fixed. The pause frame is actually needs to go away because it's waiting for this compilation buffer to finish. Yeah. And I think there we go. Okay, so everything exits with code 1, which is unfortunate, but I think I have to restart it. Let's see. Yeah, so I had to restart Emacs as well, which is quite annoying. So
what were you trying to do here? Just
use PDF tools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I want to see what these Tixed things look like. I've been using them for so long.
So for the kind of downside of the PDF tool so far is I don't know what causes it to, like, it has to be reloaded. I would love to see a fix for that.
hey, every single time.
Are you on 26?
No, it's just whenever you update the package, it has to recompile. And maybe not even that. Maybe it's just when the package updates and the C files have changed.
Are you running 26.2?
I believe so.
Okay.
I
think I saw
'Cause I just
something
saw it
in the
updated.
change log about PDF tools, actually.
Maybe.
Maybe I was,
I might not be. I mean,
I
I'll
lost my mind.
I'll
Sure.
check. I'll check. So let's go back to paper tech. And we'll do a split view where we'll open paper PDF. Come on. I'm sorry, Max. That's, I think I can just fix this by going to Emacs, local packages, alpha, tools, and make. No. Build, I think. Oh, is it cask? Nope. All right, let's try. I think you'll ask me again, and then I'll have to redo it again. So, we'll get this. This is fun. That PDF. Wait, what? This doesn't work. This will be sad times. Let's actually do a.
Sean, just open it in Preview app.
No. The point is the PDF tools, which is Emacs PDF viewer. Unfortunately, yeah, if it doesn't work, I'll have to punt on this one, which would be sad. I know. Yeah, if
So
I.
you're trying to view the PDF inside Emacs?
Right. So it has a very nice integration, and recently they just finally merged the pull request to add high DPI or Retina on the Mac,
Great.
which was a huge problem well, not a huge problem, I guess. It like once you see it, like it's just not as clear. Yeah. It's yes. It's what is going on here? Yeah, this will be my. Okay, one more time. Please work. Nope. Okay, that's it. We'll have to do that another time.
You can record yourself and we'll put it on the Emacs SF YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that again. The other, so some people are, the other thing the last thing I wanted to talk about was password manager. A lot of people have used I've used it. I recently switched to something called Bitwarden, just because Bitwarden is self-hosted and it has a bit more of a kind of modern workflow. Like Pass was super simple. You had to name each GPG file to be the site. It was just, whereas Bitwarden had much more ideas of like this password. Not only could multiple user accounts be associated with a site, right? Because if you name it after the site, you can only have one username password. But it also had ideas of identity and things like that. But there existed no Emacs. There existed whatchamacallit? Things for it, right? I have my API for my API keys for Forge and the old Github, but also my username for GitHub. And so that was quite nice. That's why one of the reasons I switched. But there was no Emacs, so I wrote one. And this is so I added alt source compatibility to it. But this is just a very simplistic way. It's not done yet, so don't. You can use it, please do. And I welcome pull requests. It's on GitHub. But the main point is that when I switched from Pass to Bitwarden, I had a lot of scripts that shelled out. And before I used Pass, by the way, I just used the Mac OS keychain, which has a way to access it and search it by using the security command line. But everything's tied. Like if you have a script, like or whatever that needs the password, and you send it the shell command to run, you just change them all the time. And so what I've recently switched to is instead using Emacs as the password manager itself. So hopefully nothing is here with epass. This is just an example, a tiny shell script that will use auth source. So you send it, say a username, and it will just run Emacs client to get the value from you. And so this is something I'm currently going through all of my scripts just to replace it with raw, just query Emacs, because I know there's some assumptions here. One is I know Emacs is always running on my laptop. It truly is my OS. And when I'm on remote machines like SSH, it will now Emacs client knows how to get back to my local machine, but now it can query that. And so if I need to have a shell script on a remote machine that actually gets a password securely, it can do it that way. And so, anyway, just one of those neat ideas. And I'll leave you. Anyways, so sorry. That is how I use Emacs, why I switched, and some opinions of why I switched. They're all mine. So don't. If you have a different one, please, by all means, it's Emacs, right?
Were you a Vim user previously?
What's that?
Were you a Vim user previously?
I was for many years. Power Vim. I wrote 2 plugins, or I wrote one and then tried to write a second one, actually for Mercurial.
Mhm.
And I just found it so painful to work with Viml in the Vim language. It's like writing in Bash. Like I don't think anyone likes to do it. It's just, well, I use Bash, so I had to write Bash shell. This is why I switched to the Python, the conch shell, and also why I use Emacs. I wanted a real language. For better or worse, it's Lisp. I've grown to like it quite a bit, but a lot of people do have trouble with that. And what I would like to see in the future is something like the Quake thing used for a replacement. So I would like to work on getting this to be a better replacement for Spotlight. Spotlight right now, I don't know if people remember, what was it, Quicksilver? And I think Alfred exists still. It's just like, you can do more powerful things like search for a file, like I can search for applications. Like in Spotlight, all you can do is search and open. That's it. But with Quicksilver, I remember those days, and I think Alfred has it now. You can have like workflows, like, well, I want to mark this, I want to mark this stuff. Perhaps I want to select all these different folders and move them to a new folder. And so I would like to see some work done of using this Quake mode, or YE Quake, yet another Quake, I think. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know, YE Quake is the name. To bring up a Emacs frame that is just automatically type in search.
Wouldn't Rofi switch serve a purpose?
Oh, that's only on Linux. I don't have that. Oh. But that's just a real simple so Rofi, Rofi, I don't know how to pronounce it, is a modern replacement for dmenu, where dmenu is just a cat, these items in a file to this program, and it will just pop up. That's it. Like just pop up what you to select. It'll do fuzzy matching. Is it toggle?
They're kind of like this, pause frame.
But yeah, but this would be Lisp, right? Like you get much more interaction. I was hoping for an Ivy mode to do some selection of commands. I don't know. It hasn't been done yet. This is just where I would like to see it go. Let's see. I think I have X menu. Oh, so this is one thing. Is you can actually search your Bash history. Right. I think that's it. Yeah, so X menu is kind of a replacement here. We can do this. We can do. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm in Python. Oh. We'll do that first. Make sure that works. Yep. We'll pipe it to X menu. X menu is not defined. Oh, wow. Did I uninstall it? No, it's right there. This is another thing.
It's one of those quirks.
Yeah, this is one of those quirks. Yeah, easy, right? So I'll paper around that by just using a different command. You can't see it. It's at the very, very top.
Yeah, but
it's there, right there. Well, if I go too close, my menu bar will take care of it.
It's giving you a choice.
Right there at the top,
Okay.
very, very tiny.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
the blue. So if I just type, let's say Q, right, there's only one of those that has Q. So there it is, and that's D menu.
And it just
Yeah,
echoes it. Okay.
Right, like it had nice matching, and it was super simple in the Unix philosophy. Like all it does is you pipe it lines, and it will display them. But I was
completion to the terminal world, to the shell world.
well, it was D menu was no, I think it was built on X, right? Yeah,
D-menu?
yeah. So like, yeah.
Well, to me, that's Emacs style.
But yeah, I'd like to see something way more like just a much more powerful, like open, not just open applications. That would be the first step. Even more like a query or password manager in a much easier way. I'll probably work on that because let's see, yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So that is all I had. Please, ask any questions, or if you're watching this video afterwards, hopefully my email will be posted, but it's Sean@farley.io, and send me something if you have a question about this, and that's all I did there.
I have a conch question for you.
Sure.
How do you manage your Python and like?
What do you
basically-
mean?
So I use Anaconda.
Oh, you mean okay, sure.
So how does conch work with like?
Just
does
pip
it use
or Anaconda? It's whatever your Python environment. It's kind of orthogonal to it. It would just like a Python script or whatever module, it will read the environment variables. It will fire up Python, whatever you have set for the library path, it'll search that. So kind of whatever you use, it will find.
So should I would you recommend pip install conch or
Yeah, that's what I do.
apt install?
Yeah,
conch?
so if you do, how do I view my shell?
I go with dollar shell.
I think there's another way, but that's pip user on Mac. And so I had to switch to that,
Okay.
and then I put it there. But so yeah, I pip install that's the latest version. They release more frequently than package managers can. They usually, and it's not quite popular enough where package managers are going to stay on top of that. As you can, this is a great example of the Quake. It's this stuff right here. But I'm liking it so far. I'll let you know in a few months, like if it's stuck. But yeah.
I have some questions too, but I wonder if our remote people don't want to jump in and ask or talk at this point because they've been pretty quiet. Hag or Ben, anything?
No, okay. I see some heads.
You have any questions, Ben?
Not really. I've just been
Alright.
making a few notes to follow up later.
Right on.
Oh, and I do keep everything. Ooh. So maybe that's part of the reason I should update. So I'm updating my packages now.
Oh. Are you going to try the thing again?
I'll try it.
Wait, inside do?
Yeah. No, that was a shell.
Wait, so you updated your packages?
Yeah, I guess that's I don't know how SpaceMax does it, but for Doom, it to update both Doom and your packages, two separate commands, they're external. And that's so that you can get really fast startup time. I think I had it before set to every time I booted up Emacs, hey, search for new packages. And that just took forever. Like when I open Emacs, I wanted it to open, like not download and update stuff. And so this makes it fairly stable. Like if I don't update, then it's still going to fire up, just like I did. What did I forgot? Oh, yeah, there we go. Out of habit, everything I have is on Bitbucket under Sean Farley.
Sand Farley.
Damn, I have no E key.
You have no E key?
No, it's just one
Is that
key.
part of your optimization?
No, it's just the Mac.
He is
Okay.
down there.
I don't know if this is going to show the video, but my E key is right here. Just place it right there and hope it doesn't fall out. So here are my dot files. I even have my old pass Git repo there. Here, all my dot files are in a repo. Feel free to poke around and check them out. My Doom stuff is in Doom. A lot of this is still Bash, but as I evaluate and move things over to Conk, then I'll do that. I just import fonts, by the way. So in fact, I haven't committed the nerd font one yet. That's still. Oh no, that's right. I don't need this anymore because I use Homebrew, and Homebrew has this. All this. Yeah. But yeah, that's. I did make one custom icon. That's right here. Why? I just wanted to see.
Can we see?
Yes. How do I? Let's see. It's in my Doom. So it is my IRC stuff. Where is it? Maybe not. That is a good question. Where did I put it? It's definitely in my the bindings, maybe? That doesn't make sense. Let's see if Sean gets this. Here. We will search for it. It's in my mode line. Of course it is. Right. it's the actual binary for it.
That's the binary of the position in the font, or is it the literally the image as a string?
No, it's the position in the font.
Okay.
Here we can just insert it in some random buffer I have here, and there it is. Okay, Sean, what is going on? Okay, you can maybe see it now. It's this little kind of symbol there.
Yeah, I got it. A little figure 8 thing.
Little figure 8. It's from my friend's company. It's the peer review guy, the one who messaged me. It's his company in Paris. It's Octobus. And octopus as in that's the 3 little
Oh, the suckers at the
suction.
bottom.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you can actually view the original. I was going to say, why not just... So that is, this is the original here.
Nice.
And so why did I make it? Well, I wanted it to be in the mode line, and it needed to be font. And I was like, well, how do I do this?
Oh man, make a pure one.
I feel like that's an entire blog post right there. How to take an image and insert it into a font and use it.
I guess you're right. Yeah. I could,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's the TLDR is you get the SVG. There are a few different programs or even web services where you can upload them, upload the SVG, and it will create the hard part, which is the font file. Then you tell it what region of the Unicode you want. The private stuff, what's that called? Private section of the Unicode. And then you get that number, you load the font. So this font right here is the family. So it uses my font file basically.
Yeah.
Here's the Unicode binary string, and that's it. The raise is just to tweak it vertically, just because it was hard. But yeah, maybe I should blog more. I should. How to do this stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
It's really 2 questions.
Okay.
You've shown us a lot of your personal configuration and talked about how you pushed a lot of it into Doom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but what I'm hoping, and I'm not sure I quite got, is from a user's perspective, how do you say, I want this part of Doom and this part, I want to customize it this way. Could you show a small example of using Doom, something not, well, both using Doom that you've installed, and also what maybe a Doom package or whatever you call it that you created looks like, and how those things are defined.
So I guess my workflow is first proof of concept, right? Like what do I want to have done in Emacs? For example, for the mode line, it was just, can I even tweak that the IRC notifications to be that custom icon? And then what I did was, for that one specifically, I abstracted it out for just the function, and then I left my custom font stuff as a optional function to apply. Like give it a name and return some string. And to show you exactly, Henry wrote great documentation. That's the only thing holding up the next release. Let's see. Let's go to
So
the
this
UI.
was the latest commit was in a year ago?
Yeah, word of warning, don't use the master branch. It's being held up by thank you for pointing that out. Use the develop branch. Almost 5,000 commits ahead of master. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Yep. Okay, so here's some UI stuff. Maybe the mode line. But in each of these folders, he has a readme.org, which is quite descriptive, I think, for most of them, about what it does and how to configure it. Maybe not. Yeah. There's some variables, and there's kind of a method to his madness of variable naming. Like a plus sign will be configuration variables. You can, and of course, this is namespace, Doom mode line, and stuff like that. Although that comes from an external package. Let's look at another one. What is one? Maybe it's more interesting to go to the apps. And so IRC or email. This is one that I definitely contributed to because he had Gmail specific logic in there. I just took that out. But yeah, so how would you go about this? Well, explore the code is what I can say. And luckily, everything is very well, I think, very well organized. Oh, geez. No, here. Where you can just see the core. You don't really care about the core unless you do want to see how he does some of this stuff. The README does have some nice places to start and how to get set up. But I go to modules and I just kind of poke around to see what looks interesting. Like one I have not tried yet, but I've been meaning to, is the L feed for reading RSS in Emacs. I played around with Twitter, and write mode is more for authors. Let's try it out. Write mode. No, right? Because I just updated. So once you update Doom, you need to restart it. And write mode just makes it centered buffer with variable pitch font, and I think maybe some other stuff too.
Variable pitch font.
Instead of monospace.
Oh, okay.
So it's more for what non-programmers usually write in.
Looks like a Word document.
Yes, that is it. And so let's do something, maybe like my slides. So slides isn't added to the repo yet, which is why there's a little message at the bottom saying it added it to the cache. Yeah, so here's a great example of Emacs. You can see the cursor move. I don't know if you saw it run down.
Yeah, I was wondering who's.
That is straight up being blocked by a spell shelling out and spell checking the whole buffer. So this is what it looks like. It it just makes it more of a friendly for, how to say, concentrate on just writing your whatever blog or something. So that's a fun one. Yeah. Just like I guess the languages one is probably what people will be interested in. Like, how do I use Python? And that's a bad one. It has no README. Whoops. That's I guess I'm doing pretty bad here with randomly picking out stuff.
Wait, because that's master.
Is it? Yes. Good God. GitHub. I thought Python had stuff. Fair enough. Okay, so.
I consider my question answered.
I'm really curious which ones do have readmes. I do like the way he writes, by the way. It's very, for Lisp code, it makes it. He's definitely taught me a lot of just styling and how to say, like even more powerful things that Lisp can do. But yeah. Any other questions, or I'll. Oh well. Look at that later. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stop the. Is that all I need to do?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hopefully people got something out of it. If nothing else, then pretty pictures. This is how you can style it.